Yeah, go ahead.
Great. So, Chimere, Katy, and Chantel, thank you for talking with us today. If we just go around and maybe you guys can just introduce yourselves, and then kind of as a way to start this discussion, talk about 3 takeaways that you got from today's Emerging Leaders session, which was your 4th Emerging Leaders session in this first New York Emerging Leaders. So, Chimere, would you like to?
Yeah, sure. So I'm introducing myself.
Yes.
All right. So my name is Chimere Stephens. I am the Director of School Operations for Team Academy Charter Schools in Newark, New Jersey, which is a KIPP region.
Great. And do you want to tell us 3 things that you?
Yeah, sure. I'm sorry. I didn't know we were going down.
It's
so 3 takeaways from today. Wow, just 3. It was a lot. The first one was in keeping with, was it Locioni? I'm not sure if it was. I think it was, I'm sorry, Brockman. So looking at the pyramid and just talking about the foundations for having like a good team, which was trust. So for me, one of the big takeaways is I really want to go back and for the team, just really just make sure I implement just a culture of trust where people are still focused on achieving results, but just really making sure that we're building solid relationships and really working together to achieve those results. So that's one thing. I think also a takeaway for me is just consistency and just my relationships with the people that I manage, just making sure that I have just consistent times where we meet, where we talk, where we check in. And then lastly, just clear, clear goals for the group, shared goals, and just really make sure that we're all on the same page as far as where we're trying to get to. So yeah, that's what I would say.
wonderful.
And my name is Katy Lankester. I'm a program associate at the Global Impact Investing Network. And I think my 3 takeaways from today were that there's a tremendous importance in setting goals and mission in nonprofit organizations. Sort of as we were comparing and contrasting some of the difference between for-profit and nonprofit, I think in the for-profit world, there's a really clear bottom line around we're all aiming to make money for shareholders, and in the nonprofit world, it can be a lot more ambiguous, and so there's just a lot more time that it takes to get on the same page. And so the importance of having leadership that's able to lead those conversations is really especially critical in our space. I think one of the other things that I was thinking of is the importance of sort of metrics and outcomes. I guess that's kind of leads from the idea of goal setting, but sort of being able to be accountable towards those goals, not only because of the trust that you've built as a team, but also that you have some really clear indicators of your success. And then I think the final thing was when we talked about conflict and the idea of being able to be tough on ideas and not on people, and what it takes in a leader to be able to create and foster a culture of sort of positive conflict so that the best ideas are out on the table and everyone really feels like they've been heard at the end, but you've all reached a place of agreement as opposed to sort of silence as consensus, which I think is a way that a lot of times we lead conversations where we don't want to have conflict and we want everyone to feel really good at the end. And so just thinking about how to structure those conversations is one of the things I was thinking about.
Wonderful.
So my name is Chantel Marrow. I work for Abyssinian Development Corporation, which is a non-for-profit community development corporation in Harlem. And 3 takeaways from today's session. One was definitely the most that resonated with me was the team dynamics and building trust and receiving tools from our facilitator that we can take back to the office to implement within our teams there. The second, I guess I would have to say, was so I've always had this question in my mind about why all of the financial decisions were solely made by the CEO, and wondering if that was a good strategic approach to making financial decisions. And so hearing from our guest speaker today, David
Walker, I think was his last name.
No, it's David.
Oh,
David. I can't
We can look it up.
We'll figure it out later. But so he spoke to the fact that the financial responsibility should definitely live at the level of CEO. Of course, that person would receive support and advice from a CFO, but that she is indeed supposed to be making those decisions. So that kind of stuck out to me today. And lastly, again, I just want to talk about the team dynamic piece and to Katy's point about conflict, and that there's a healthy conflict and that it helps to build trust. And so hearing that was helpful today as well.
Wonderful. Thank you guys so much. So my next question, and I would love for you guys to even engage with one another in answering this, making it kind of a roundtable discussion of sorts. The question is, how has emerging leaders impacted your work and your ability to be a more effective leader and manager at your organization?
Who wants to go first?
Well, I can say I think one of the things that it's done for me is that, and I don't know if we were talking about this earlier, Chimere, is that I'm much more aware of my own failings, and I can also be more upfront about those, and I can also recognize where my strengths can help to fill in places where other people on my team maybe aren't as strong, and being able to demonstrate that vulnerability helps them to come forward so that we can really support one another in a way that, kind of like we were talking about today.
Yeah.
If you create that perception of invulnerability, you don't actually you don't tap into places where you have resources on your team to learn more. So I think it's helped me in that particular way.
Yeah, and I'd say the same thing. I think being a part of Emerging Leaders has given me definitely, I feel like, the confidence that I need as a new and young director, but also it's given me context and framework in which to work to really understand some of the things that happen in the workplace. So it's like, looking at some of the articles or talking with my other cohorts, other peers who are in the cohort with me, just understanding that we're going through some of the same situations or same challenges as new managers, new directors, and just really framing those conversations and putting context to them and really just coming out of that with like practical solutions. So even in today's session, just walking away with some practicals of things that we can do to really help foster just teams and communities of just trust and really working together and having that great team dynamic, which will also ultimately affect our results and our ability to get things done. So,
I wanted to talk about the self-reflection that happens a lot in our sessions, and really being able to identify with strengths and weaknesses and things to build upon and things to be aware of and mindful of has been very helpful for me back at my organization, and has made me to be more confident, to your point, Chimere. I think self-awareness begets confidence. So.
That's wonderful. So my next question, you may have answered it somewhat in your answers to the previous question, but are there other ways in which your participation in Emerging Leaders has impacted your organization and not just you as an individual?
Actually, I have a great highlight that I would love to share.
Yeah, please do.
So one of our peers, I don't know if you heard it, she briefly mentioned today, Sarah spoke about the partnership that we've recently engaged in. And so her organization, which is Generation Citizen, has come on board and is now working in 2 of our schools.
oh, that's great.
We're just signing off on contract agreements and things, and so just briefly, her organization works within school classrooms to work with students around civic action and addressing community issues through critical thinking. And so it's just a great opportunity. It's just a reflection of such great networking that can happen and partnerships that can be built as a result to such dynamic folks that are around the table. So I think that's
wonderful
great.
to hear.
Yeah, I'm hoping that actually, it's been great for me to be more exposed to different types of nonprofits. And particularly, I think we have an enormously strong cohort in the education space, as exemplified by the two people to my left and right. And that's taught me a tremendous amount about the sort of strengths and weaknesses of different parts of the sector, as in like where you're engaged more with government versus where you're doing more of your fundraising from other sources. And I hope that sort of our organization, I think we would love to potentially do some volunteer work within some partner organizations. So I think we'll find ways to engage with other cohort members' organizations going forward. And then I think just in general, being able to take all these resources and bring them back. I mean, I started a binder in our break room where I just put all of the articles that we read and sort of let people know when I'm updating it. And I think everyone on my team has been really excited about just having, through me, access to more of these resources.
Yeah, and for me as well, like one of the components of being a part of the fellowship is our stretch projects, which are like these, I guess, like reach projects for us. And we, don't just put them together and it's kind of like a nice theory, but it's like these are things that we really are trying to actively like put into practice and apply in our workplace. And so from the first session, I went back to the network of schools that I work for, and I was like, hey, this is a great idea. Like, if we really want to see results, these are some things that we should consider. And so there's a huge focus in my network on professional development for teachers, rightly so, because I work for a school. But there wasn't really a professional development track for non-instructional staff, or like school support staff. And so, like with anything, when you bring an idea to like senior level people, they're like, that's great, why don't you design it? Why don't you design the curriculum? And so it's been great because I've been able to take, identify like some of the challenges that I see in my network, as well as take a ton of components from the fellowship. So my stretch project is just basically a professional development track for support staff in the entire network, and we have 5 schools. And so we're going to launch it actually this Thursday coming up, and I'm really looking forward to it. And it's great because it's like we get a chance to come here, learn things, but then there's no better way to like really I guess process that information other than like actually actively doing it. And so I'm really excited about that.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's really great to hear. So as you know, public interest work in the nonprofit sector are always evolving. How has your experience in emerging leaders thus far equipped you as a leader to face today's challenges and tomorrow's opportunities in the nonprofit sector?
We're reflecting. That's one of the things they teach us to do.
Yeah, no, take your time.
First thing that jumped out to me was increased confidence, for sure.
Definitely.
Feel free to jump in.
Yeah, I can comment on that because that's kind of the same thing. I feel like this being a part of the cohort has given us just like definitely the confidence that we need. It also has given us, I feel like it's a room filled with like dreamers, like people who are really optimistic and who really believe that they can make a difference. And so when you're around individuals like that, it's contagious. It's like infectious. Just like Katy was saying, everyone is working in the nonprofit sector, but in different fields or different lines of work, but they're all connected. And sort of our vision to see great things happen is just very consistent. And so I feel like we really feed off one another, the energy. And there was the first article I think we read, which just talked about playing to your strengths. I know for me, like Chantel was saying, it gave me incredible confidence because I came in feeling like I'm so focused on the areas that I'm not good in. So much so that I never stopped to really think about, well, what am I good in? And how can I utilize those things while still identifying these areas of growth? And so it's given me a safe place to be able to do that and really just continue to just chop away at just trying to get better in my professional life. So it's been great.
I mean, I would completely echo everything that you guys have both said. Just the confidence that you need to lead an organization. I don't think that there are a lot of places in the nonprofit world that you can develop that confidence and the skill set to really kind of underpin it. And one of the things that you mentioned, Chimere, was sort of the safe space to come and be in a room full of dreamers. And it's amazing because as we work in the nonprofit sector, you would think that that's what work was like every single day. Yeah. But I think in reality, it can be a very challenging sector to work in. And so a lot of folks in the nonprofit sector really are at risk of burnout. And particularly, I think, sort of our segment of people that are really driven and ambitious and excited to lead organizations right around now in our careers is really when there can be a moment when you feel like sometimes you're just not able to move up or gain the skills you need to be able to achieve everything that you think that you can within the nonprofit sector. And so that's, I think, a lot of times when you sort of lose people to other pursuits where they think they're going to get that recognition in one way or another. And so retaining talented people in the nonprofit sector, I think programs like this program, I think, has been critical for all of us in making sure that we're able to really continue to develop professionally and step up to lead organizations like that going forward.
Great, thank you. So what do you think makes this professional development opportunity unique? What do you think sets it apart from other programs you may have explored?
Maybe just partly that it's nonprofit focused. I will say very frankly that it's within a price range that's actually accessible, and that it feels like it's geared towards sort of where I am in my career. I think there's a lot for sort of executives that are now sort of late stage career folks, and there's things for really early, folks that are just getting into a fellowship or something like that. But that when you're making that transition, I don't think there's actually much out there that is sort of in that sweet spot.
Yeah, it's true. Like I feel like coming in, we're all at the same place in our careers. While we all have different levels of like responsibility at our organizations, there's so many things that we can relate on. I feel like, as well as just the coaching that we're able to receive and the accountability. Like today, we left the session just talking about, or ended off talking with one another about like what we were going to take away. And so I was able to be in a group with one of my peers from here in the cohort. She's like, next time we get together, I'm going to ask you about that. I'm going to ask you how you're doing in that area. And it wasn't just because like, this was on her checklist or something to do, but it's like a genuine concern and really wanting to see one another get better and to grow. And so it's just cool to see the personal investment and commitment that we've all made. And I think as a result, we were able to get so much out of it because everyone is really committed to getting better, but also committed to just seeing the group do well and everyone be able to leave here and really see a lot of the ideas and dreams and thoughts that we have come into fruition. So.
I also wanted to mention just the fact that initially hearing about emerging leaders, and it was connected to Princeton alumni, which was at first a little, I was a little concerned that it wouldn't fit for me. I never went to Princeton, didn't graduate from any type of Ivy League school, but however, I do bring 7 years of experience in the not-for-profit industry, and so, I think opening up programs or introducing programs like this to the not-for-profit sector really allows for a great dynamic group of people to come together and share, whether it be learnings from, different walks of life or your educational backgrounds or your work experience, kind of to my case. I think it's just been phenomenal, and I'm greatly appreciative to you all and emerging leaders.
Chimere, Katy, Chantel, thank you so much for speaking with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.